Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we're going to be recapping the Orioles and Marlins Game 2 of this three-game series. This is the final series before the All-Star break starting on Monday. There's one more game tomorrow for the Orioles, but unfortunately, the Orioles lose today 6-0. They get shut out. Things were looking really good early on, especially on the pitching side. Trevor Rogers had an incredible start today, and the Orioles go out there and waste it. And this is one of those games where when your starting pitcher goes out there and pretty much does 7 scoreless innings, you have to go out there and you have to help out your starting pitcher. You have to have some sort of run support just to take the pressure off him a little bit. And unfortunately, it kind of all unraveled really late. In the 9th inning and the 8th inning, it kind of really unraveled for the Orioles. The Marlins were able to put up like 6 runs in the final 3 innings in this game. But it was a pitcher's duel for pretty much like the first 5 full innings of this game. It was a pitcher's duel. Really for like the first 6 innings of this game, it was a pitcher's duel. And unfortunately, the Orioles didn't put up a single run today, so there's not really going to be much to talk about on the offensive side because they didn't put up a run. They didn't score any sort of runs. You can't win a baseball game when you score 0 runs. It is literally impossible. So, unfortunately, the Orioles lose this game. This series is now tied 1-1. It's not the worst thing in the world. They just have to make sure that they go out there and win tomorrow. But it is extremely frustrating to see the Orioles lose this game with how good of a start Trevor Rogers had, and they just were not able to figure out Junk, the pitcher, Jansen Junk, the pitcher on the Marlins. The Orioles just could not figure him out. They just could not score any runs in this game for some reason. I mean, they were getting on base a few times. They just could not bring anyone home. They couldn't have that big hit. They couldn't have that big inning. And it happens. The Orioles offense has been playing really good as of late. And obviously these types of games are going to happen. But at the same time, this Orioles team is under a lot of pressure right now to get back into a decent position with their season kind of on the line here in this month of July. So this is a really frustrating loss, a very winnable game from the Orioles. Obviously, we did lose 6-0, but a lot of those runs that were scored late in this game just kind of were the icing on the cake. The Orioles were kind of cooked from the start of this game in terms of scoring. They couldn't really get anything going at all, and whether we lost 1-0 or 6-0 is the exact same thing. But all I know is that Trevor Rogers had an incredible game today, and we completely wasted it. We completely wasted his start against his old team. And by about the 5th inning, when I was watching the game, by about the 5th inning, you're kind of sitting there watching Trevor and saying, wow, like this guy is like this is the ace right now of this Orioles team. Like this guy is seriously the best pitcher on the Orioles, no questions asked. How much better he's looked from last season to this season is insane. The velocity's better. He has more just command over his stuff. He looks incredible. He looks incredible. He looked incredible today. Obviously, we didn't get the win today, which is very unfortunate. But that doesn't change the fact that Trevor Rogers had an incredible day and did everything that he could to help the Orioles win today. But unfortunately, the offense just didn't want to help him out. So let's just go over this game. So going over this Marlins and Orioles game, obviously a very disappointing loss for the Orioles. Again, they lose this game 6-0. Their record now goes to 43-51. They're back to being 8 games below 500. They could have cut it down to 6 today with a win, and obviously things were very winnable. But in the 9th inning, things just kind of got unraveled. It was 2-0. We were only losing 2-0 going into the 9th inning. The Marlins kind of scored 4 runs in the 9th inning, all courtesy of Scott Blewett. So unfortunately, the Orioles just couldn't do anything all game, but the 9th inning was kind of the dagger for the Marlins in this game and just kind of made this game a little bit unwinnable. But maybe if this game was a little bit competitive early on, and maybe if the Orioles actually put up some runs, maybe things could have been different, who knows. But going over this offense, obviously not a lot to go over. They had 6 total hits on the day, only got walked once. I think they only had 7 base runners on this game in general, and they left all 7 of them on base. Obviously, they scored 0 runs. They left all 7 of the base runners on base. They went 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. A horrible day on offense. One player had multiple hits. Multiple guys went hitless in this game, and overall it was just a really bad game. There's no excuse to why this Orioles offense couldn't, play good today. They had all the main guys. They had Jackson, they had Jordan, Gunnar, Ryan, Ramon, Colton Cowser, Cedric Mullins. They had all of the players on this team that are key players on offense. So there was no excuse why they should have scored 0 runs in this game. So it's just unfortunate. Very, very, very unfortunate. Very frustrating as well. This is definitely one of the more frustrating losses of the season because your starting pitcher really goes out there and has such an incredible game, and you just cannot score against someone who, Jansen Junk, who has been incredible this season for the Marlins, but just to not be able to figure it out, just to not be able to score in general is very disappointing. And any sort of game when you get shut out is obviously very disappointing. But Jackson Holliday in this game, he goes 1 for 4. Jordan Westbrook doesn't get a hit. He goes 0 for 4. Gunnar Henderson, only player in this game with multiple hits for the Orioles. He goes 2 for 4. So shout out to Gunn. Ryan O'Hearn goes 1 for 3. Ramon Laureano goes 1 for 4. Colton Cowser goes 1 for 3. And then Tyler O'Neill goes 0 for 4. And he left players on base multiple times in this game. 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position was Tyler O'Neill. He was extremely disappointing for the Orioles today. He's been extremely disappointing all season. He has been hurt for a lot of this season, but even in the games that he does play, he literally has done nothing. I mean, there was a 3-0 count in this game. We had a runner at second. There was a 3-0 count, and he gets the green light to swing on a 3-0 pitch, and then he pops it up foul. Just that type of stuff is ridiculous. Tyler O'Neill has done nothing for this Orioles team. He's getting paid a lot of money. He's doing nothing. And I'm not even going to bring up how Anthony Santander is doing on the season because he's not doing much better. But still, you have to work with what you have, and Tyler O'Neill has done horrible for the Orioles this season. He only has 3 home runs. We got him to be a lefty power hitter, and he just hasn't done anything all season. And it sucks. It really sucks because he's someone that really I thought could be someone that could round out this lineup and bring a lot of pop in this lineup. But he really has done the opposite of that. So hopefully he can get it going sooner rather than later because this is really crunch time. This month of July is really crunch time for the Orioles. Jacob Stallings in this game goes 0 for 2, and then Austin Jackson eventually comes in. But overall, this Orioles offense, again, didn't do anything. Only 6 total hits on the day, 7 total base runners. Didn't score any of them. Very unfortunate game for the Orioles. But going over to the pitching, and really the star of the show today, I know that the Orioles did lose, but it was not this man's fault at all. He will get 0% of the blame in this game. You really can blame, I guess, Scott Blewett and the bullpen, I guess, and the offense. But Trevor Rogers will not be getting any sort of blame in this game today. He goes, he was right there with Jansen Junk. They were going back and forth. It was a very big pitcher's duel in this game. Trevor Rogers does unfortunately get credited the loss in this game, which really sucks. It sucks that Trevor Rogers, with the start that he had to get credited the loss. I think that's a little ridiculous, but just how baseball works. Trevor Rogers gets a very undeserved loss. Very undeserved loss. But in this game, he goes 6.2 innings pitched, gave up 2 hits and 2 walks, so he gave up 4 total base runners, let up 1 earned run, which technically wasn't even his fault because Gregory Soto, who came into the game after Trevor Rogers had, someone on base and let up a hit, Gregory Soto came into the game and he gave up a base hit, which then scored the run that Trevor Rogers let on. So Trevor Rogers technically didn't necessarily even let up a run himself. It was kind of Gregory Soto giving up the hit, but it was the runner that Trevor Rogers let on, so obviously it counts to him. But, a little bit of an asterisk in that earned run given up. But overall, I'm going to look at this game really as almost a 7-inning shutout for Trevor Rogers. 6.2 innings pitched, gave up only 2 hits, 2 walks. 1 earned run obviously wasn't necessarily all his fault, but he does get credited with that earned run. And they also had 8 strikeouts in the process, which is a season high. His ERA does go down a tad bit from a 1.57 to a 1.53, and a 99 pitch count across 6.2 innings. He was incredible. He was absolutely incredible. He had a couple innings where he didn't throw a lot of pitches, and then he had a couple innings where he threw quite a few pitches, hence why he got worked a little bit. But overall, he was incredible. Almost 7 innings scoreless. Obviously, the earned run is not necessarily, completely his fault because Gregory Soto did give up the run to score. But anyway, very great game from Trevor Rogers. He continues to be so good through his first 6 starts this season, and someone who gains so much trust and respect after every single start that they have from Orioles fans and the Orioles staff in general. He continues to be great. Obviously, he should be a mainstay in this lineup for the rest of the season, and even going into next season as well. This is somebody who I want on the mound in rotation for the Orioles all the time. He has really cleaned up the mistakes that he made last year, and all the problems that he had last year as a pitcher. He has really cleaned up very nicely. So shout out to Trevor Rogers for being amazing this season, and also sorry that we scored 0 runs in this game, and then he gets credited the loss. It is very undeserved. But Gregory Soto, obviously, he gives up a hit, which then scored the Trevor Rogers run, which was obviously the run that he got taxed for. And then Anthony Dominguez gave up a run, and then Scott Blewett gave up 4 runs in this game. And then that was it. The bullpen didn't do great for the Orioles. The starting pitching was fantastic. But overall, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how many runs the Orioles gave up. The Orioles scored 0 runs in this game, and the offense gave themselves a literal 0% chance to win this game. So obviously, you're going to lose a game when you score 0 runs. And that's just how it is at the end of the day. The offense gets all the blame in this game because when you score 0 runs, you can't win. And that's just how it goes. But the series is now tied 1-1. We are going into a Game 3 rubber match tomorrow in Baltimore. Tomorrow's game at noon is going to be the final game before the All-Star break. So this is tomorrow's game is the last game before All-Star break, and then after All-Star break, the Orioles will have about a week, of games. I think our first 2 series are against Tampa and Tampa and Cleveland are our first 2 series coming out of All-Star break. So after those games, we pretty much have a week after All-Star break to really decide what we're going to do this year. So if the Orioles don't want to have to sell at the deadline, they're going to have to win tomorrow and, win all the games in the first week after All-Star break. This loss sucks. This loss was very tough. If the Orioles won this game, they would have won this series and also have won 4 in a row. But unfortunately, that comes to an end. The little 3-game winning streak comes to an end, but they can still win the series tomorrow, and it'll all be worth it. Tomorrow's game is going to be Yui Perez versus Brandon Young. So Brandon Young, he was fantastic for the Orioles in his last outing. Hopefully, he can kind of replicate that again in this game, but hopefully he doesn't collapse early. The offense is probably really going to have to be ready to go tomorrow because who knows how long Brandon Young is going to go. In all of his starts this year, he's been horrible in all of them except for one. So who knows what we're going to get tomorrow. The offense is going to have to be ready to go. If the Orioles win tomorrow, they win the series and they can move into All-Star break with 3 straight series wins. But if they lose tomorrow, they lose the series. You go into All-Star break kind of on, a little bit of a downer. And then you really have the first series against Tampa and the second series against Cleveland to really figure out where this team stands going into the trade deadline, whether we want to sell, whether we want to buy, or whether we just want to stay still. I'm not going to have any opinions on that until it actually gets to that point, because I think we're at a situation right now where, if we win tomorrow and we do well in that first week coming out of All-Star break, I think that there's a serious chance that we could be buyers or just stand still. So it's going to be the Orioles are going to be one of the most interesting teams to watch at the deadline, and obviously we got all the coverage here on Birds of a Feather. But thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to like the video as well on YouTube and follow up on Spotify. And if you want to check out more content from me, make sure to follow the Birds of a Feather Instagram account. That's in the bio of whatever platform you're listening on. And then also make sure to follow the X account, which is also in the link in the bio of whatever platform you're listening on. I post live tweets during every single game, live updates throughout things going on, and just, live reactions to things that happen as well. So make sure to give those a follow. I appreciate all the support you guys have given me. Obviously, the Orioles lose a very frustrating game today, but you know what happens. This Orioles team has gone through a lot worse this season, but the Orioles still do have a chance to win the series tomorrow, so hopefully they can take care of business tomorrow, get the series win, go into All-Star break on a big high note, and then potentially, by the time the trade deadline hits, maybe even try and make a big trade and try and make a playoff push because this team is within reach, but we'll see what happens. Every single game means so much now, especially after All-Star break. That first week after All-Star break is going to mean so much for the Orioles. So we'll see how they respond. We'll see how much they want it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. You have a great sales day. I'll have an episode up sometime tomorrow afternoon, right after the Orioles and Marlins Game 3. We'll see what happens. Hopefully the Orioles can get a win and go into All-Star break on a high note. But I'll see you later. You have a great sales day. Go O's, go Ravens, and I'll see you later. Peace out.